Fully vaccinated Americans will be allowed to travel to Europe this summer.
Laura Albert McClay is an associate professor of industrial and systems engineering at UW-Madison, and she is an expert on risk and travel.
She's with us today to help plan travel for summer getaways, especially if you're planning to go overseas. Laura, thanks for being with us again. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
We hear a lot of talk about a vaccine passport. What is that?
It's really a credential, not so much a passport, although it's useful for travel. And it's a credential just so people know who's been vaccinated. And it's useful because those little pieces of paper that we get when we're vaccinated are really intended for us to use, but they don't really help other countries or other governments know if we've been vaccinated. And turns out the vaccine is really a great tool against this virus, and it can really reduce risk a lot. And so this information is desirable for folks to know.
A lot of people have been very anxious to be able to travel again and to go overseas and to go to Europe in particular. Which countries are open now is sort of a moving target. So what kind of a risk do you think you're taking if you decide to travel internationally right now?
Well, we know that the virus is going to be around for a long time, unfortunately. And if you're vaccinated, though, the vaccine is really effective, so it's a low risk. But different countries have different requirements for for vaccination or to get testing. And so, for example, to enter the United States, you need to have a COVID test done within 3 days and be willing to quarantine once you get into the United States. If you're fully vaccinated, you don't need a test and you don't need to quarantine. And so that's where travelers need to provide the proper credential, either a vaccine test or a vaccination, proof of vaccination, or a COVID test to enter the country. And there's been a lot of fraud so far. So most of a lot of the risk is due to just that fraud, and being able to fake credentials or fake a COVID test kind of defeats the purpose of these mitigating actions that we're asking travelers to take.
So would you be willing to take the risk?
I'm really looking forward to international travel, and vaccination is kind of the path to having some normality. And I've been trying to follow some of the requirements. I'm hoping to travel at some point, maybe not this summer, but some point in the near future.
And that's what we've heard, that Europe is going to open this summer, but that's about all that we know. So it's still kind of vague. You've got to do a lot of homework to figure out if you're planning a trip right now.
That's true. That's one of the challenges, is that travel requirements is a moving target. You can get to Europe, but can you really do everything that you want to do once you're there? And every couple of months, the situation's a little different.
It looks like the cruise ships may be starting up again later this summer, and most of them are requiring that the crew and all visitors be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, people want to have some kind of normality, and something like a vaccine passport that gives travelers a high confidence that it's pretty safe. And cruise ships have a lot of crowded areas where there's poor ventilation. And so vaccination really reduces a lot of the risk there. And boosting consumer confidence and traveler confidence is a way for these industries to bounce back.
Would a vaccine passport be recognized internationally? In other words, the little vaccine cards that we have, would those be sufficient proof of your vaccination if you were going to Brazil?
Yeah, it's very similar to the driver's license that we have. So to travel in the United States, it was the federal government created this credential, which is the real ID. So Wisconsin actually changed its driver's license. And this really helped it, at least within the United States, the ID be more recognized. And the goal there is to recognize that you are who you say you are, not that you've been vaccinated, but the idea is similar. And early on, these conversations about the vaccine passport were aimed at overcoming this challenge, is that if you look worldwide, there's tens of thousands at least places doing the vaccinations, and it's hard to know who's really been vaccinated. How can you really trust that? The documentation comes in all sorts of languages. So there were some efforts between countries as well to come up with a credential that you could use on your smartphone, but you could also have a hard copy of it, so that it could be recognized internationally. And that will just remove some of the barriers to travel. It reduces some of the risk and boosts traveler confidence. So it can be kind of win-win. And also, when travelers return to the airports, there's going to be a lot of congestion at the airports because we're doing everything we used to do, Plus, we're doing it slower because we might be wearing masks and using PPE, and that kind of slows us down. And then you add in this extra step of having to check, COVID test results and vaccination status. And a credential can really ease up some of that so we can have some efficiency at the airport instead of gridlock.
A lot of pent-up demand that's going to open up once those barriers are removed. Laura, thanks for being with us today.
Great to see you, Laura. Thanks for your time.
All right, have a great day. Thank you.